How about that? The Warriors, a 4-1 road trip. What does this teach us about Golden State? Wins over the defending champs, almost blowing a 30-point lead to the Oklahoma City Thunder. But hey, there's no such thing as blowing a lead when you win the game. NBA, it's time to take notice of Golden State after just an incredible trip away from home. Let's dissect it on today's show.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is the good word? I think I know what the good word is. It's the Golden State Warriors taking down the Oklahoma City Thunder in OKC. 127-116, the final score. So much to get to in so little time, but first, the important stuff. This is Locked On Warriors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're free and available wherever you get your audio podcasts. Also, check us out on YouTube. If you're on YouTube and you like the Golden State Warriors, thumbs up. Likes equal wins, folks. Today's episode is sponsored by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. My name's Charlie Walter, formerly at 95.7 The Game in the Bay Area, hosted Sports Talk Radio on the flagship station, also covered the team's title run in 21-22 for CBS News Bay Area. Joining me today, an NBA reporter for the Chatter podcast that checks out the league from a whole, gives a different, non-biased perspective on the Golden State Warriors tonight. It's my friend Hudson Klauke. On today's show, we're talking about sharing is caring. We had moments from everyone in the Golden State Warriors today, specifically Steph Curry, who put the nail in the coffin every time the Thunder tried to get back into this one. They did try to get back into it. A 30-point third quarter lead was cut down to 6. OKC was rocking. But when it was all said and done, much like that Rockets game, it was Golden State who prevailed in this one. I'm legit sweating, Hudson. That was way too close for comfort. What's good, man?
Oh, yeah, that was a hell of a game, man. That was you knew the Thunder were going to have a run in them at some point. After it ballooned to 30 in the second half, I was like, hey, maybe we won't see a run. Lo and behold, they start the fourth quarter. I think they scored 13 straight points. And that was actually the second unit, too. It wasn't even the usual suspects. You know, Shai was on the bench, and they went on a run. And it was a great game, though, man. That's high-level NBA basketball. So that's a fun one, especially due to the season debut. Thunder, Warriors get a W. I love it.
Steph Curry leads the way in the game with 36 points. Just an incredible third quarter that we'll get to. But, man, this was the road trip we've been talking about because the Golden State Warriors to start the season beat Portland, La Basura, Utah, arguably the worst team in the NBA. The Pelicans, just a dumpster fire right now. They lost to the Clippers. They take down the defending champs, but there's the caveat there. Hey, no Jaylen Brown, no Kristaps Porzingis. They get rocked by the Cleveland Cavaliers. So this was kind of like, it was a measuring stick road trip, but this is the one we looked at. Like, all right, is this going to be 3-2 with a couple of back-to-back blowouts? Or the Warriors going to be competitive? Because that's what I think Warriors fans wanted to see. It was like, all right, how are we going to do on the road against a team that's projected to potentially win the Western Conference? And forget just hanging in there. I mean, they were beating the Thunder's ass at a certain point. I texted you and I was like, man, Cleveland looks a lot better than OKC right now. And then what do you know? Right as I said that, I almost mushed the entire Bay Area. The Thunder come back in it. But let's talk about how a bunch of different players had their moments for Golden State. 20 first-half assists for the Warriors, 13 first-half threes. They were 13-26 from three in the first half, up 7 at the break. That 30-20 rule is the secret sauce. 30 assists, 23 pointers. Today, the Warriors went for 35 assists, and they went for 21 three-pointers. Cha-ching. Check it out. That's what the Warriors do. They win games when they have that statistic. Jonathan Kuminga had his moments in the first half. He goes for 20 points. I mentioned Curry for 36. Wiggins got the team started with aggressiveness out of the gate, attacking the basket, actually attacked the basket so hard that it took Chet Holmgren out of the game, hurt his hip by attacking the basket there. You hate to see that, but you love to see Wiggins attacking. And then from there, I mean, just everyone had moments here and there. Melton, 19 points. D'Anthony, 5 threes. His coming out party for Golden State. We'd only seen good ball from him in the preseason. So this is one as a Warriors fan that forget just the result. It was the way they played. How impressed are you by what Golden State just did in OKC?
Yeah, I was surprised. And like you mentioned, Chet Holmgren going out obviously changes things. A 7-footer, he only played 5 minutes and he was out. But just a complete effort. And like you said, D'Anthony Melton. No, I did not anticipate on my bingo card that he would drop 19 points and have 5 threes. If you can get anything close to that out of D'Anthony Melton in that starting spot, that's going to bode well because I loved Kuminga off the bench. I've always been a diehard Buddy Hield guy. That guy, you can tell that he's already decided I'm firing one when he gets the ball, and I love it. And he's played unbelievable so far this season. But yeah, just a group effort. And then slow-mo Kyle Anderson. Always love watching him. He's got the old man's game. He didn't do a whole lot tonight, but kind of a complete effort. And then when Steph is going to go for 36 and you get other guys contributing, that's a recipe for winning. And we might have to start talking about the Golden State Warriors as a actual contender in the Western Conference.
We're going to get into that. Like, what does this road trip teach us about this team? But I want to start off with just the sharing is caring. Spend a full segment on it because Curry, Wiggins, Melton, Kuminga all hit double figures in the first half. We didn't even see a ton of Buddy Hield. He's been the microwave off the bench. We did see a couple threes and a just throwdown that I was like, oh, Buddy. I didn't know you had that in the bag. Just takes it with the right hand rip to the bucket. But we saw 0 pods. We didn't see a ton of Moses Moody. It was just a collection of dudes that all had their moments. It was Kuminga in the first half that kind of paced the way along with Wiggins. And then third quarter, Steph Curry, 17 points, had 12 in the first 5 minutes of the quarter. I mean, people are kind of counting out Steph, or at least they were before the Olympics. I heard some, even from the Bay Area media, it was like, how long can you really rely on a 36-year-old to pace the way? Can he actually be the Batman, or do they have to bring in a Giannis, a somebody else to be the Batman, and Steph's got to kind of be your 1B or your second best player? Remember what Draymond Green said after the Sacramento Kings series, Game 7, when Curry went for 50 a couple years back? He said, Ja Morant's the sexy name in the NBA right now. Everybody loves Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We all love these young players. Wembanyama, he wasn't even in the league yet. But we all love these young up-and-coming players. Don't write us off yet. Don't write off Steph Curry yet. Don't write off Draymond Green yet. Do not write them off. Draymond's hitting threes. Steph with, how many threes did he finish with in this one? Finished with 7 of them, a couple of them late. Just give me a glimpse of the kahunas on Steph Curry down the stretch when it was brought to a 6-point game and the Warriors had turned it over like 3 straight possessions, and that's where Curry really lit them up with a couple.
Oh, yeah, and it's just daggers to the other team, man. Like, you think you're getting back into it, and then Steph can just rattle off 3, step back behind the back, step back threes right in your face. All of a sudden, wait a minute, it's 12 points again. And, SGA I was actually checking the odds. He's the front runner for MVP as of tonight. And Steph Curry outplayed him completely. Not a great game from SGA, but still finished with 24.
14 from the line. He gets to the line with ease.
Right. He does. He's great. He's one of my favorite players to watch. But Steph Curry clearly was the best player on the floor tonight. And, when you shoot, for a second, I was like, if I watched a 3-point contest, they were just going back and forth, just launching threes. They were just like 65 threes. Or no, how many threes combined? So the Warriors shot 43 and the Thunder shot 33. So there was a lot of 3 balls going up, and I know that's how they like to play. But Steph Curry was 7, man, and he had a slow start too. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at the box score. I'm like, oh, he's heating up, and he finished the game like he has done so many times in the past.
I think he only had a bucket or 2 in the first quarter. It took him, 7 minutes to get to the hole and lay one up and in for his first basket. Like I said, it was Wiggins, it was Kuminga, it was a little bit of everyone to start. I know Moses Moody hit it. I almost did the Moses Moody. He hit a first quarter 3. Draymond Green started the game off with a couple of 3-pointers after, missing them all against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So this is just what you love to see. A Warriors team that gets embarrassed, was down by 40 points. It's in stretches of that Cleveland Cavaliers game. They, at least battled back and fought hard in that second half of the game against the Cavs. And then this was your measuring stick. You take down Boston, you get blown out by the Cleveland Cavaliers on the road. This was like, all right, what is this road trip going to be? Are we taking away from this road trip that the Warriors are a serious contender and the NBA should be on notice? Or are they just a pretty good team in the West? And the answer is the former. The Golden State Warriors, contenders again in the West. Yes, I said it. We're discussing this coming up on Locked On Warriors. First, let's tell you about one of our sponsors. It is FanDuel, everyone. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. So choose wisely. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, you can view the live play-by-play, and you can do so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. The line in this one was Oklahoma City -6.5. That means the Warriors were 6.5-point dogs. We do this a lot. Keep your points, Vegas. If you want to keep betting on Warriors wins, you could do it on FanDuel.com. I said it, man. The Golden State Warriors are a force to be reckoned with in the West. We're going to get to the Western Conference as a whole because there have been some surprises overall. I'd say more surprising is the East, the bottom of the East, seeing teams like the Bucks and the 76ers as just a dumpster fire right now. But in the West, I think you could say that the top of the league, seeing the Phoenix Suns up there, is 1,000% a surprise. And the team now that sits all alone in second place, the Golden State Warriors, at 8-2 through 10 games. They've done, some of their damage, missing Steph Curry for 3 games. They were missing Andrew Wiggins. DeAnthony Melton finally integrates himself into the lineup and proves that, hey, he can knock down 5 threes. Whop. I mean, how impressed are you with Golden State, despite not going out and getting the splashy name this offseason, not necessarily running it back from a season ago, but going with the less is more approach, getting rid of Klay Thompson as he was no longer a fit on this team, getting rid of Chris Paul as it didn't make sense, and going after 3 guys in Buddy Hield, DeAnthony Melton, and Slow-Mo that have all just been splendid additions to this team.
Oh, yeah, and I'd be lying. I am shocked that, and granted, it's still early, right? But they are sitting in second place. And when you really look at how the West is shaken out in general, with Denver's not the same team, Minnesota, we're not sure what they're like with Randall and not without Karl Anthony Towns. Dallas is kind of middling around. I know Clay's actually played great there, but Golden State, man, and with those guys you just mentioned, I feel like people didn't respect what Buddy Hield can bring, and he was a great signing. They needed somebody to fill the 10 threes that Klay Thompson is shooting up, and guys like Melton, you take a risk. You're not putting too much money into him, and if he can get solid minutes like we got tonight, you got to really like the collection of talent. And I know a lot of people wanted Markkanen, but so far so good. I mean, there's a chance that they could.
Markkanen hasn't looked good at all, man. I mean,
right.
I've heard some people in the chat calling him barbecue chicken. I don't even know what that means, but I think it's accurate.
He's cooked.
He has not been great. He's shooting like 38% from the floor for the Jazz, who absolutely stink.
Oh, yeah. The Jazz are absolutely horrendous. I was expecting a little more. I remember last year they won too many games. They were trying to tank, and they were hanging around 500. But, yeah, this year they're doing a great job if they want Cooper Flag. But, yeah, I mean, you got to love what they did. Yeah, maybe they saw the writing on the wall. They thought he wasn't going to be any good, Markkanen. But with the young talent they have, there's so many guys and so many weapons. And there's just something to be said when you have 10 good basketball players that you can put on the court. It really, I know that's not rocket science, but if you guys got winning players that can play significant minutes, it changes everything. So you don't have that third quarter that you drop 15 or whatever with your backups in. This is not the case with this roster.
No, and one of the things that's crazy is the folks that love this show, they heard all offseason me talking about Podziemski. He's been a complete disappointment, to be honest with you. I mean, his three-point shooting's not been great. He's disappeared at times. I know the plus minus would say different. I'm still high on the guy. He's 21 years of age. But it's not like he's stepped up. I mean, Kuminga's had his moments. Moody has had their moments. But it's just been different guys every night. And it's kind of pick your poison. And it's not a lethal poison. It's not a poison that's going to, take the other team completely out of the game, as we saw tonight and against the Rockets. I mean, the Warriors can go up 30 points and the other team can fight their way entirely back in it. That's what happens when you shoot. How many threes did we get to tonight? 21
43.
made for the Warriors. They shot a total of 43. So you shoot 43 3-pointers, that's what's going to happen. But one thing that allowed the Warriors to take a big lead in this one was protecting the basketball. 14 total turnovers for Golden State, which is a magical number. Anything under 15 for this franchise in the last 10 years has been really good. The Thunder's the best team in the entire league at forcing turnovers. Almost all were unforced early. I mean, it was the Warriors stepping out of bounds. It was Draymond Green who had a couple. Only two turnovers in the second quarter for Golden State. Draymond had them both. They were bad turnovers too. Draymond and Steph need to clean up some of the turnovers. But hey, when you're winning games, whatever. But it was protect the basketball, stop the Thunder from dominating in transition. And that was kind of what the Warriors did when they were playing well. And don't forget, all the talk was about how good a defensive team the Oklahoma City Thunder are. The Warriors can defend too, man. That was the entire talk in the offseason. It was transition, and it was getting back to being a top 5 defense. It was defense on defense. The Warriors win the battle today. They hold OKC to 116, which isn't anything special, I guess. But hey, they had stretches where they looked really good, holding the Thunder to 21 points in the third quarter. I mean, that's an elite team right there on their home floor that you held to 21 points.
Yeah, and Andrew Wiggins is so important to this team because the defensive presence that he has when he's actually locked in and showing effort out there, which he did tonight. And Draymond Green, you know what you're going to get. He's not, MVP caliber defensive player anymore, but he's still on any given night one of the best defenders on planet Earth. And so he's obviously a big part of that. You said the turnovers. I feel like Draymond and Steph have been turning the ball over for the last decade. So I don't know if that's really going to clean up too much, but hey, Draymond with 11 assists too. I mean, Pete Maravich out here. So you got to like what you see from really the roster as a whole. And like I said, I think Andrew Wiggins is a key piece because if he can be consistent, I love this team. And sometimes he's nowhere to be found. Put him on a milk carton, where is Andrew Wiggins? But tonight he was there, and I think that bodes well for what the Golden State Warriors want to do.
I would say most of this year he has not been on the milk carton. He's been on the floor and playing well. When healthy this season, I think he's been one of the most impressive Warriors because in the offseason, it was like, all right, if this is a meritocracy, Moses Moody's getting some of those minutes because Moody played really well in the preseason and we didn't see a ton of Wiggins. And really since game one, I think every time Wiggins has stepped out there, he's been aggressive. He's been crashing the glass. I mean, today had 8 rebounds in the game, 5 of them offensive, 5 assists, a plus 21 from Wiggins, put up 14 shots. Aggressive, baby. That's what you need. And early when Andrew Wiggins is in the game. You can just tell when it's an Andrew Wiggins night. And this was one of those nights for him, putting up 14. Melton, just so pleasantly surprised by his game tonight, putting up 11 shots, 8 of them threes, knocking down 5 of them. He had 10 rebounds in the game, 8 defensively, 3 steals. So just an incredible night. I mean, steals as a whole for the Warriors, 8 of them in the game against the Thunder, which allowed them to get out in transition. The ball movement from Golden State has been impeccable to start the season. So, man, you could talk about the West and how deep it is, and yes, it is. But so far, the Warriors have been passing these tests with flying colors. They're going to have 2 more against the Mavericks and against Memphis back-to-back that can really just cement the fact that Golden State is a contender. Because there are caveats. I don't know if caveats are the right word, but there are asterisks next to some of these wins because today Holmgren leads early in the first quarter, and they were also missing Hartenstein. So you're missing two of the biggest guys on Oklahoma City's Thunder team. That completely changes the formula that they play with. And much like Boston, you did not beat a team at full strength. But when it's all said and done, it's the way the Warriors look, and they look good for 42 minutes of this game. It got a little dicey there late, but for 42 minutes, they looked really good. When we return, we're taking a look at the NBA as a whole. We're 10 games into the season. Where do the Warriors stand in terms of everyone? One thing is safe to say, the Cleveland Cavaliers, oh, baby, they got a good team over in Ohio. Let's discuss it coming up. One of my favorite apps out there, everyone, it is the Gametime app. I'm going to need you to do me a favor right now. If you have your phone in front of you, download the Gametime app. It's free. It can sit dormant on your phone until you go to your next live sporting event. Some of the reasons why I love this app. Let's start off with the fact that you get a full panoramic view on the app from your seat. So you go there, you see section 116, you get the full 360 view. You know exactly where your seats are. The closer you get to game time, the cheaper your tickets get. That means if you're a procrastinator like me, it doesn't matter. You don't have to buy your tickets 4 days in advance. Who does that anymore? That is so 1998. Give me a break. When you get to the stadium, just buy your tickets there. Skip the box office. Also, you get the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. I want to take a look around the league right now and kind of talk about some of the teams that have impressed you, some of the teams that have disappointed thus far. We still have some games in action. So when you're listening to this audio podcast in the morning, there's a good chance that not all of these scores, or I guess records, are accurate. But Golden State, man, 10 games into this season, you look at the Western Conference, and they're right up there. 8-2, behind only the 8-1 Phoenix Suns. The Oklahoma City now tied with the Warriors at 8-2. And then you got the Nuggets at 6-3, the Rockets at 6-4, a team that Golden State has already beaten, and the Clippers at 6-4. The one of two losses that the Golden State Warriors have, the other one being to the now 11-0 Cleveland Cavaliers. So let's start there. The Warriors get dominated by the Cavs on the road after a very emotional win in Boston. How much, I guess, not stake, but how much are you taking away from that loss to Cleveland, that the Warriors just aren't on the Cavs level right now, and that the Cavs are really on their own platform right now in the NBA?
Well, yeah, I mean, they haven't lost the game. So losing to the Cavaliers is nothing to be ashamed of. I'm not going to take too much stock into a singular game. Maybe we'll see. I'm not sure if they play the Cavs again down the line. But one game,
They
you're going to get
They
blown
play
out.
them the day before New Year's Eve in the Bay Area. So that'll be a fun way to end the year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think both those teams will be, in contention as far as their conferences. But yeah, you're going to, it's the NBA. You could be the best team on planet Earth. You could get blown out, and the Cavaliers right now are invincible. So I'm not going to knock the Golden State Warriors when they're sitting here at 8-2, and sitting in second place in the Western Conference. So it's one game. The Cavaliers right now are the better team. They're the more complete team, just from a talent level. Like we just said, 1-10, Warriors got a lot of good players. The Cavaliers have even better players, 1 through 10. They got a lot of different ways to beat you. They're just on another stratosphere right now, but nothing to be ashamed of. Golden State have a lot of room to improve, but they're playing great. So, I mean, what can you do?
And things can change. I mean, the
injury,
trades have already been brought up. Yeah, the Warriors have assets. They can make moves down the road. The question's going to be, what are they going to do? But the most important thing to start the season was a hot start out of the gate off the opening tip, because If the Warriors, got off to the start that the Bucks or the Sixers were in right now, we'd be looking at this season from a completely different perspective, because the Sixers are all the way down at 1-7, the Bucks down there at 2-8. I mean, who's the most disappointing team to you in the NBA right now?
I would probably say the Pelicans. Pelicans are sitting there at 3-7. I know they've had some injury stuff with Zion. They're 3-7. They have quite literally, I think it's like the third or fourth worst record in the NBA. They're one game above the fantastic Utah Jazz that we mentioned earlier. And I thought we were hoping that the Pelicans, even without DeJounte Murray, I know they've had injuries, that they'd be able to stick around. But they seem to be falling off. We don't know how long Zion's going to be out. That's probably the most disappointing team so far. The Bucks are the obvious answer. They're 2-8, and they've actually had Dame and Giannis playing, which Doc Rivers, don't get me started on Doc Rivers.
The chat's already coming after you. They're like, the Pelicans. What the hell is that? What are you smoking?
Listen, I have a soft spot in my heart for the New Orleans Pelicans, okay? I'm always rooting for them for no reason. I don't know why. I love gumbo, I guess. The easy answer is the Bucks, though. There's no question. The Bucks at 2-8 with Giannis, with Dame, with Doc Rivers, allegedly the Hall of Famer. They're not figuring it out, and I'm not sure what they're going to do. They're already talking about Giannis being traded. We'll see. I doubt that happens, but that's the easy answer. Most disappointing team in the league.
Doc Rivers, allegedly. Remember those two words. Let's talk about the Warriors bench today, because this is a contentious point in the chat right now, and I want to hear from all of you that are listening to the show, watching the show, and please give it a thumbs up. We very much appreciate it. Subscribe to the audio podcast as well, and toss us a 5-star review if we enjoy it. It helps pay the bills, and we very much appreciate it. But down the stretch, there was, some moments where there weren't Buddy Hield. There were some different rotations. We didn't see a ton of Trace Jackson Davis in this one. And that's just kind of been the talking point all year from a team that's 8-2, because everyone's got a nitpick, right? We can't just celebrate the fact that the Warriors are tied for second in the West. Instead, we got to say, why isn't Kerr doing this? Why isn't Kerr doing that? How are we blowing 30-point leads? And there's some truth to it. It's hard to push all the right buttons for 48 minutes. Kerr's been doing a great job for a lot of the games. There are some moments there where you're like, what is this lineup he's running out here? But I will say this, the Warriors bench in the second quarter with Curry off the floor, they were down 1 when he left at the end of the first. He returns with 7 minutes left in the second, and they were down 1. They had 26 points from the bench in the first half. The Warriors finished with, you give me the numbers right now if you have them in front of you. I would say that the Warriors over under, I'm going to set it at 46.5 bench points. How's that sound?
I'll take it. I'm trying to pull it back up here.
26, 34, 40, 44. So the under was smart there. But 44 points from the bench unit in Golden State. It's hard to pick a bad combination. That's the thing. And everyone can argue we need more Moody. He only plays 11 minutes in the game. Why is Gary Payton playing more than Moses Moody? Why is Podziemski getting 15 minutes and Moody only getting, 11? You could say, why is Jonathan Kuminga only getting 26 minutes after the hot start that he had? What about Hield? 21 minutes. He's a microwave. And when the team's turning the ball over seemingly every possession late, find Buddy Hield running off screens and let him chuck up a few to really put the game on ice. But I kind of don't have an issue with some of Steve Kerr's rotations, because there's not a lot of bad buttons he can really push. There are a few here and there that he throws out where it's like, Podziemski and Payton, and at the same time, I don't really want to see that, especially if Anderson's out there too. But for the most part, 26 minutes from Kuminga seems fair. D'Anthony Melton getting 27, that's due to them just riding the hot hand. It's an in-game meritocracy. And when Melton's playing great, you keep riding him. Wiggins 35, that's a no-brainer. Draymond 31, 37 from Curry, 21 from Hield, and 15 from Podziemski, 20 from Anderson. Like, what's the issue? I want to hear from the chat. What's the issue? I'm going to feature some of your comments on the screen here, read some of them off. But Hudson, I want your takes here on the minutes distribution from Kerr, because the hardest challenge that he has is 12 very capable players trying to find them all play time that really fits how they're playing in a specific game.
Oh yeah, well, Steve Kerr is very familiar with getting a lot of hell for how he's divvying out minutes, as we saw with Jason Tatum not even touching the floor in the Olympics. So he's used to this; he can handle it. I think it's the three guys: Wiggins, Curry, and Draymond are going to get the lion's shares of the minutes, and then I think it's kind of Kerr feeling out who's the hot hand, who's playing well. Tonight, you didn't necessarily need to play Moses Moody or Buddy Hield for 30 minutes because they built that big lead. Kuminga off the bench, I think, is great. I think that's a great role for him. 26 minutes. I mean, what do you want him to play 40? So I think Steve Kerr right now is doing a great job, and you can't really complain because they're winning. If that starts to change, then you could see a different minutes distribution happen with the lineup. But for now, so good, right? Like, what can you say?
Yeah, I mean, I'm reading a comment off the screen. Our friend, the Norwegian Hellhound, our guy, the Norwegian Hellhound. Moody goes 11 minutes in the game, puts up 4 shots, scores 3 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, a -7. I don't understand why the chatter immediately after the game in a chat section is about, Moses Moody and his playing time. I really don't. But hey, I think you can make the argument that maybe Kuminga should up those minutes to 32 in the game today. And look, I've been on Kuminga. I think his defense leaves a lot to be desired. I think there are some IQ moments in a given game where you're just like, he has not fully figured it out yet. I thought he was fantastic, man. When he's knocking down some threes, when he's, crashing the glass for 5 rebounds and putting up 11 shots, knocking down 8 of them, he was lethal in transition. He had a play early where Buddy just kind of chucked it up to him, and he used his athleticism and length to just go up there, grab it, and then muscles his way up. Here's the thing, and we saw someone in the chat mention this earlier. Actually, Sahith Theegala, the PGA, the golfer. He's in the chat tonight, so good to see you, Sahith. He says that you guys can't overreact. There was no Chet Holmgren, and he's absolutely right. And that's what's so hard about this road trip as a whole, because it's so hard not to overreact when you go into Boston, when you go into OKC and you take them down. I mean, they're still really good teams regardless. They weren't missing Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They still had Jalen Williams. But Chet Holmgren and Hartenstein being out, it does put quite the asterisk next to it. But hey, another chance to get it done against the Dallas Mavericks. Klay Thompson coming back to town. Let's get kind of your final thoughts on the game that was a sweatster in Oklahoma City that winds up being an 11-point win. Seems comfortable considering the Warriors were up 30 at one point, but anyone that watched that start to finish knows that the Warriors, much like that Rockets game, they have got to figure out how to put a complete 48 minutes together. But hey, a win is a win. Let's not complain.
Exactly. Let's not complain. Yes, Chet Holmgren going out is massive because they don't have any size. Hartenstein, like you mentioned, is out. So as far as getting rebounds, things like that, their defense at the rim is not there without Chet. The guy's 7'1", averages 18 and 9. He's a good player. But injuries are going to happen. You got to play who's in front of you. And they did exactly that. The Oklahoma City Thunder can beat a lot of teams without Chet. I promise you that. So it's still a feat to go into Oklahoma City with, Lou Dort out there, a defensive monster, chucking threes. They got plenty of weapons outside.
They didn't have Arkansas Jalen Williams either, which is a good note from someone in the chats. They were literally missing their 3 towers down low. And if Golden State has one issue, one glaring weakness, it is other teams' bigs. So you do have to put an asterisk next to this one, I guess. But hey, at the end of the day, it goes as a W in the win column, and the Warriors are now 8-2. They're 6-1 on the road. They go 4-1 on a road trip. It includes a good win over a Houston team that appears to be on the right direction. So there's a lot to learn from this Dallas game coming up, man. Klay Thompson's return to the Bay. How fired up are you?
Oh, that's going to be fun, man. That's going to be fun. Klay Thompson back. He's going to be firing. I promise you that. It'll be, I wonder how many threes Buddy Hield's going to get up to compensate. Buddy Hield's going to shoot 15 threes that game. I guarantee it. But no, that'll be fun, man. And the Mavericks are a fun team to watch. I mean, star power like you'll never believe. You got, Kyrie, Luka, Klay. The list goes on and on. So that's going to be a good one. I think You'll be able to learn a lot. There's no significant injuries for the Mavericks, so the chat doesn't have to put the asterisks up if we win that game. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I love this one from Raphael to finish it off. And thanks for always joining the chat, Raphael. We appreciate it. You're our guy. 2 seasons ago, we could not win an away game. And that was true. I think the Warriors, and they were bad teams. Like, I remember they went to, I think, Washington early. They went to Detroit early and lost. So a couple of years ago, it was the team that ended up losing to the Lakers in the second round. It took them like 8 or 9 games to win a road game. And like Raphael said, 2 elite teams, full strength or not, they still had their best players, each of them, their best player, I should say, each of them. And I think we learned a lot about the Golden State Warriors in this road trip. And what we learned most is that this team is still here. They're still good. All the analysts that were crying in the offseason about the Warriors not getting Steph Curry enough help, they did the right thing. Looking back on it, they did the right thing. I mean, Paul George in Philly has turned into a dumpster fire. The Sixers suck. Lauri Markkanen has not been a thing of beauty at all for the Jazz. Would he have been different in the Warriors system? Probably, but you would have given away Kuminga, who goes for 20 tonight. You would have also given away 2 first-round draft picks, Podziemski, Moody. The Warriors did the right thing by standing pat. I hope that is a consensus take. And at the very least, they have those assets engaged. Keep winning games, get to the deadline, and see which star is pissed off and wants out of their current situation. And then you go to the drawing board. You look at those analytical models that the Warriors love. And I've been saying this all offseason. They're waiting in the weeds, ready to pounce. They're just pouncing before we thought they would. 4-1 road trip. Warriors 127, Thunder 116. Houdini, thanks for joining the show today, man. Any final thoughts for the Warriors fans out there? I know you're not born and bred a Warriors guy. You cover the league as a whole. So what do you want to say right now, talking to the people that are on the live show about the team you got to watch tonight from start to finish?
Hey, if anything, this is a fun team to watch. All right. And you can argue at the trade deadline, there might be, like you said, all you got to wait is for some team to panic, some GM with his job on the line and wants to get some young assets and, tank the rest of the season, try to get a high draft pick. And you might be able to get a superstar in here and get rid of some of these guys that are all very solid talents. So they have the assets there. It's a fun team to watch. When you have a top 5 player, you're always in contention. And that is Steph Curry. We saw it tonight. The guy went ballistic. You're in good hands, guys. Golden State, okay? You guys are in good hands. Don't worry. Don't panic. Second in the West. Take it for now. We'll see when Hartenstein and those guys get back because the Thunder are definitely the front runners for the West, regardless of what happened tonight.
And you got Steph Curry until 2028. So we got good times ahead, folks. We got good shows. We're going to preview Klay Thompson's return and the Dallas Mavericks coming to town in Tuesday night's game. We're also going to talk about the perimeter defense. Leaves a lot to be desired for the Warriors. But, hey, the interior defense today, aside from the fouling, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's got the amazing body control. And just, I saw a lot of people in the chat saying that he is a foul baiter, 1,000%. But that's another topic for another show, maybe a show in the playoff run when these two teams could meet again. But they'll see each other again, and I'll see you again, Hudson. Good stuff tonight, and we will chat soon. Locked On Warriors, free and available wherever you get your audio podcasts. Have a great night, everyone. Great rest of your week. Go Dubs.